astronauts? Welcome to the Digital Galaxy Podcast. I'm your pilot, Jack. Justin unfortunately couldn't make it today because it's his birthday.
Woo! And I'm your co pilot, Paul. Buckle up because today in episode 22, we're discussing the European Union's tech regulations. The information in this episode comes from the European Commission, BBC, New York Times, and CNBC. So in episode 18, we discussed if big tech companies like Google or Apple are too monopolistic in nature. There has been several hearings and proposed reform to deter their big tech monopolies recently. And the European Union is set to unveil a major overhaul in the digital market. Jack, can you fill the crew in on what's happening overseas?
Absolutely. So, earlier this week, EU officials announced that they were going to unveil new tech regulations. They proposed two pieces of legislature the Digital Markets Act and the Digital Services Act.
What can you tell us what the goals of these two acts are?
The executive vice president of the European Commission, Margrethe Vestager, had this to say in her official statement, quote, "The two proposals serve one purpose, to make sure that we as users, as customers, as businesses, have access to a wide choice of safe products and services online just as we do in the physical world." She continues with, quote, "Whether we turn pages or scroll down, we should be able to choose and trust the news that we read. And of course, what is illegal offline is equally illegal online."
It sounds like they are trying to get up to speed in the digital world. According to a BBC interview, Vestager claims that the EU hasn't updated its rules on digital services since 2000. Most of the companies that are being checked or investigated didn't even exist 20 years ago. EVP Vestager states, quote, "We need to update our toolbox and make sure that our rules and principles are respected everywhere, online as well as offline."
I wish the US did this. Um, so, there are two major ways the EU plans on regulating big tech. The first is with hefty fines. The Digital Markets Act will take on companies like Google and Apple who are considered gatekeepers. They show preference over their own products when you search in their app or stores,
Mhm.
and the idea of the Digital Markets Act will allow for a more level playing field. So smaller companies and their apps can compete against those tech giants. And according to CNBC, failure to comply could result in fines as high as 10% of the company's worldwide annual turnover. So that's
Yeah,
massive money we're talking
it
about.
is. Yeah, I mean, it does seem like a ton of money, but I mean, in the past, we've seen these giant companies, get fined, and it just keep going on and breaching those rules, if you will.
Yeah, and so the other way that EU is kind of going to regulate these is by forcing them to divest.
Mhm.
And so, according to an article by the BBC, recurrent infringers are warned that they could be made to divest. So, meaning kind of they're supposed to spread their assets, just like how Facebook is being asked to get rid of Instagram here in the US. Um, and so, but essentially, certain businesses where no other equally effective alternative measure is available to ensure compliance with anti-monopoly laws
Right.
will make it so the last resort is you do have to divest.
Yeah, which is sounds like they're very serious about the consequences, if these companies don't comply. And there's a second act that they proposed as well that you mentioned earlier, which is the Digital Services Act. So let's talk about that a bit. The focus of the Digital Services Act is to create a single set of rules for the EU to keep users safe online, protect their freedom of expression, and help both them and local authorities hold tech companies accountable.
The Digital Services Act allows the EU to fine companies if they allow illegal activity to exist on their platforms. So, according to the New York Times, the European Commission proposed large fines for internet platforms like Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube if they do not restrict the spread of certain illegal content like hate speech.
Yeah, these companies have been, scrutinized for years for not cracking down on user-created content. Mainly, they've been protected by Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act, and legislatures have been reluctant to impose any such laws since they believe it may infringe on the freedom of speech and expression of American companies or the American people as well. But the EU's argument is that hate speech is illegal offline, so why would it be legal online as well?
Yeah. So, these two acts are yet to be passed. Vestager hopes that the rules can be adopted as quickly as possible, and hopefully the rest of the world can kind of learn from what the European Union is doing, especially in aspects of digital law and making sure that at the end of the day people are protected. It's the digital world right now is very much like the Wild West, and it needs the sheriff, the deputy to come into town. So, but yeah,
Yeah, I mean, there has been a lot of talk too about that Section 230 that I mentioned, so it might be on the US's radar as well.
yeah, let's hope
Um,
so.
so yeah, we shall see. So, in summary, the European Commission proposed the Digital Markets Act and the Digital Services Act in hopes to help regulate global big tech companies. The focus of the two acts are to ensure online safety and to allow small businesses to fairly compete on a global level. The Commission proposed hefty fines and the threat to divest companies if they do not comply with the acts. Neither has been signed into law just yet, and it may take several years to implement.
Don't forget to follow our channels on Twitter, YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and iTunes. You can also find this episode in written form on our website, digitalgalaxypodcast.com. This episode was created by Cluro, a social media app where you are in charge of your data and community. Check it out at cluro.app. Thanks for coming along on our journey. Till next time.